it's Leela, the proud poly kinky queer slut. Today's question is, how do you talk to your kids about violence and about racism? Um, so the answer, straightforward, is you just do it. You recognize that you're the one afraid and you just do it. Um, I've encountered this question with respect to schools because thankfully the schools have made an effort to actually talk to my kids about racial violence and about police violence against black men, about how about the history of colonialism. But they often pull the punches. They often say, "We're going to be talking about this, but we're going to talk about it without talking about the violent parts." Um, so I have this little mantra that I think about when it comes time to have these awkward conversations with my kids, especially when they were littler. And it is that if a child of color is having to deal with this as their daily reality, then my kid can deal with this as a story that they hear from their mom. So I think about that when I think about things like Trayvon Martin and how the school was going to talk about Black Lives Matter without talking about the story of Trayvon Martin. And I said, "Hey kids, let me tell you the story about this person who did nothing wrong, but lost their life because the police had bias and did not understand and were brutal." Kids are resilient and they understand a lot. We're also in a culture where there's violence all over the place in the media that they consume. So hearing stories of real life violence is not something that is crazy shocking to them. But I do think it's important to have those conversations when they're young because the kids will ask you the honest questions about that. Like, talking to my kids about these things, they were like, they could not believe that there was that reality out there. And I really think that it has made them better people as they're now middle school age to have seen that, to have known that, to have had the conversations specific to thinking about what your experience versus your friends might experience, or your friend's experience might be like. And so, yeah, the way that you talk to your kids about it is check your fear. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. Research the facts before you talk to your kids. But then just talk to them. I like car rides. That's a great time to start a conversation about something that's going to be hard for you to talk about because you have an excuse to not look at them in the eye. You can be looking at the road while you're driving. Another thing to just do is just bring things up casually over dinner or just while you're hanging out. Oh, by the way, I thought of this thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Have you ever encountered the idea of unconscious bias? Do you know what that is? Have you seen any incidents? And another thing that's very important, if your school sends home a note about an incident that has happened, talk to your children about that incident and get their take on it because they're talking about these things in school when they happen. And so, for example, there was an incident in my son's elementary school where someone had left some racial slurs on a computer for public viewing. And I got a notice about that, and I talked to and then that night I was like, "Oh, I heard about this thing that happened at school. Like, what do you think about this?" And my son was like, "Yeah, that guy needs help. Like, he told me about what his perception was of that event." And then you've got the kid actively relaying their experience with what is going on and with how they're encountering racism in their world and thinking about it from their perspective. And that is so powerful. It's so powerful when you can get them talking about things in a way that isn't some abstract thing that might happen, but something that they're actually encountering in their world and deciding how they want to approach it. That is how I talk to my kids about racism and about bias and about those difficult things. So thank you very much. This is Lita, the proud poly kinky queer slut. Remember, you can ask me anything and have a great day.